Hello, and welcome back to Harriet's Custom Computer Art Plus. Today I will be making the last tutorial for the magazine wedding program, and we're going to be working on the wedding ceremony pages and the pages for the reception. So let's get started. First of all, I want to start by going to Size and Position, Alignment Guides, and putting a vertical guide on my page. I'm going to click Done. Then I'm going to drag up the picture. Always have the pictures open that you want to use. I'm going to drag those up into my desktop. So I'm going to put this at the very top and stretch it to fit my page. And as you can see, if I put it all the way to the top, his head is going to be touching the top cover, and I don't want that. So I've already pre-cut the top so that I can extend it. And if you don't remember how to do the extend a picture when there's really nothing there to extend, you will just have to look at the cover, because we used the same technique at the cover. As you can see, once I unlocked it, there were two items in the layers section. And so I'm going to I cut that small strip right along this edge, and I'll show you again because I'm probably going to need to trim some on the side to stretch that as well. So I'm just going to drag up my orange color. I'll move it down so that it will still be part of the picture. And now I don't have to worry about his head being at the very top of the page. So I'm going to go to the side, and I'm just going to put these together for the moment, but I'm not going to lock it. And I'm going to bring him down a bit. What I want is to have both of them on this page together rather than part of it hanging off or having to cut off part of the picture. So I'm going to put them where I would like them. I'm going to pull, I think I will group it because I need to resize, and if I didn't group it when I resized it, it would have moved everything separately, and I don't want it separate. I want it all together. I'm going to zoom in because I want to make sure that I don't have this shadow effect on the top of his head. I'm going to put it right there. Okay, so now I'm going to once again select all of them at the same time. This time I am going to click the button because once again I'm going to resize the whole page. And I want the two on the same page, so this looks about right. Bring this up just a little bit. Okay, that looks good to me. So now I need to bring this side over. So I'm just going to go to cut out in picture, cut out of picture by trace. No, I'm sorry, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to do with cookie cutter shape. So I'm going to go here to the edge of the picture, and I'm just going to choose this section right here to extend. Now, when you're doing cuts like this, you want to make sure that you're not over areas like this is a pretty long item, or you don't want to cut over fence post. Anything that when you stretch it will look like it's out of proportion or that you've altered the picture. When I finish doing this, it's not going to look like I altered the picture. The only way you'll know it is because you are watching it being done. So I'm going to go ahead and hit next and done, and then I'm going to stretch this picture out to the side. So not only can you extend the top, you can extend the sides, the bottom, using that same technique. So now I have them both on the same page. I'm going to go ahead and group them together now and make them one item. Now, because this software is kind of old, which I've mentioned quite a few times before, I'm going to cut out the portion of the picture that I want. And by doing that, because I won't be working with a joined picture, which is what I have right now, it will take up less memory and there'll be less of a chance of it crashing on me and losing the work that I've done so far. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to delete this layer that has the, the combined pictures in it. And I'm just going to keep this top layer, which now is basically a JPEG. Okay, so what I want to do now is put a cutout here so that the wedding ceremony can go here and it will be clearly visible. So I'm going to go to cutout and picture, add a colored shape. I'm going to change that shape to white, and then I'm going to resize it and make it into a rectangle, and I'm going to try to maintain the what looks like the same amount of space around the edge of the picture. And that looks about right. And now, because I want the shadow inside of this white box instead of around the edge, if it was around the edge, it would look like it was floating above the page, but I want it to look like it's cut out here. I want the shadow to be on the inside, just like if you had a mat with in a frame, how they bevel the edge, and so that's the effect I'm going to be going for here. And in order to do that, I just have to go to cutout and picture, cutout of picture, by color selection, and I'm going to take this down to 0 whenever I'm taking out white or a color that's nowhere else close by in the picture. I always take it down to 1 and then just click in that area and it'll collect that entire shape or color. Alright, so I'm going to hit next and I'm going to hit done. I did what I always say don't do. I accidentally forgot to hit select opposite area. So as you can see, it would just put an extra white square at the top because I forgot. So I'm just going to click back arrow and I'm going to go right back in and do it again. I'm going to go to cutout and picture and cutout of picture by color selection. I'm going to drop this down to 1 and I'm going to click inside my square, hit next. Now, as you can see, this area, the color portion that I want to stay in the picture is dull, which means it would be cut away. But by choosing select opposite area, it switches which part you're cutting out. So now, instead of me cutting out the white shape, I get to cut out this area instead. So I'm going to click done. And then I'm going to once again delete the layers beneath because I don't need them anymore. So now you see my shape here, and I want to add in that matte frame look. So I'm going to go into special effects, add a shadow. I'm going to click on soft shadow and I'll take it off so you can see right around this inner edge. When I click soft shadow, you see it puts a shadow around the entire inner edge. So I'm going to go ahead and hit done, and I want that shadow to stand out more because it's barely visible now. So I figured out a way to do that pretty easily. You're just going to go to cutout and picture, add a colored shape. You can click done. It can stay this color. I'm just going to shrink it down a little bit and put it somewhere on the page that it wouldn't be visible once I drop it down a layer. So I dropped it down a layer. You can still see the size of the box, the square of the box, and you can, now I'm going to include the picture by dragging from the top all the way to the diagonal corner, and now it's chosen both of them. So I'm going to click to lock them up, and now when I go back in and add a shadow, if I hadn't, it says it will always say that you can't put a shadow on, but it can. Just click OK and keep going. So now, if I had left these detached and I wanted to darken my shadow, if I didn't attach them, when I go back to the shadow, it would just put a shadow around both of them, but it wouldn't darken the shadow. It would basically still be that first layer of shadow. But by you putting that colored object here and grouping the picture, now when I come in and hit soft, it will add a second shadow to it and make it more pronounced. So I'm going to click done, but I still want it darker, the shadow a little darker. So I'm just going to do the same thing again, cut out it and picture, add a colored shape. It doesn't matter what color it is because it's going to be hidden anyway. I'm going to shrink it down so it won't show, because if I put it under there, I'll show you. If it was there, you'd still see it. So you want to put it under a portion of the picture where it won't be seen. I'm going to collect, once again, the picture and that square object. I'm going to click my puzzle piece to lock it up, and I'm going to go back in one more time, the shadow, forget about that, and then hit, you'll see how it darkens once again when I hit the soft. So this is the darkness I want. It has the recessed look that I'm looking for. And now I'm going to hit done. Now it's time to start adding our other elements, the text boxes. So first of all, I'm going to add a text box. I'm going to change the writing to black. I'm going to change the font to our elegant font that we were using previously, Edwardian script. So I'm just going to click the box, put an E. It'll take me to all the E's, and then there's Edwardian script. Zoom in just a little bit so that you can see what I'm doing here. Alright, so this is going to be the title of this page, which is going to say the wedding ceremony. So I'm going to go ahead, now that I have that resized a bit, I might resize it again later, but I'm just going to type in the wedding ceremony. Okay, so I need to shrink it down a little. And a lot of times, well, not a lot of times, but I've pretty often had people ask me to make the font larger because they have some elderly people coming and they want everybody to be able to see what it says and read it with no difficulty. So most of the time I make it a pretty nice size so that anybody can read it if you're a customer, or if you decide you want to use the smaller font. Of course, you can do that, but it is a nice idea if you're going to have some people that are elderly and have difficulty seeing, to make the text and the font large enough for them to be able to read it comfortably. All right, so now I'm going to just hit copy and paste, and I'm going to shrink this down some, and this is going to be the date of the wedding. And I found out the correct date from my sister. It is September the 14th, and I'm speaking of my nephew who's getting married, September the 14th, 2019. I'm going to click done. Once again, now that this is smaller, so I don't have to keep resizing smaller and smaller, I'm just going to copy it and paste it again. And then this is going to be the time and location. And whenever you copy and paste, sometimes when you're doing objects, they'll be the same size, but as you can see, this is a little bigger than the previous one. So I'm just going to swap them out because I want the next one a little smaller. And I'm going to hit right click, edit text, and I'm going to change this to 6 o'clock p.m. And I'm not going to type the whole program for you, but I'm just going to show you the initial setup, and then I'll go off camera and finish up the rest of the text, and we'll move on. So next I'm going to hit that one more time, and this one can be a little bigger, so I'll leave it the size it is, and I'm going to put a church name, or wherever the location is that the ceremony will be. Alright, so now I have the church name. I'll shrink it down a little bit because it's quite quite a long name. All right. And all the time I'm checking it to make sure that I'm pretty close to center line. And next we're going to change the font because we're going to keep the heading fancy, but we're going to change the font to Times New Roman or any other font you might like to use. Times New Roman looks really good with elegant fonts, especially if you italicize them. So usually, and it's easier to read. So I usually do that. I'll use either that or Arial, but text Times New Roman looks even a bit more uh, fancy if you italicize it with your more elegant fonts. So now this is going to be where I start typing the program. So I'll put the prelude and seating of parents and so on. So you'll just add all the rest of the elements of the wedding program. So I'm going to do that off camera because I've shown you initially how to switch over to your new text, and I will come back when I have all of my text in. Okay, so now I have the entire wedding ceremony program or order of service set. I have prelude, seating of parents, attendance processional, bride's processional, declaration of intentions, which is when the preacher says, we're gathered here today to, you know, witness this man and this woman. Then prayer, song, the exchange of vows and rings, unity candle ceremony, can be left in or out, or some people now do sand ceremony where they pour sand together in a vase of glass to make a decoration for their new home. So you would put either according to what your bride or groom wants. Prayer, after that, another song. And usually for where it says song, I will put dot dot dot, and well, I can just show you how I do that. I just put, because usually the singer wants their name there. So you just, oops, not comma, comma, comma. I put period, 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 singer's name, and then the same thing for song. Sometime there might be a second person that is doing the second prayer. Maybe it's two pastors from the bride and the groom. So you just change it, of course, according to whatever your ceremony needs to be. And as you can see, I left some space here because I like to add a decorative element here in this little area so that it gives a little something extra to the page. And for this one, I'm just going to go down and pull up what I put on the one that I made originally. And I'm just going to shrink it down. I just found some rings, a bride and a groom's wedding band. And I'm just going to sit that in the center just like that. So now we have our first page. This will be 2 pages. This is the first page, that's the second page of the wedding ceremony. And once you're putting your program together or your magazine together, you may need to cut this in half so that you can line it up so that the pages will read right when you have your magazine put together. And I will show you quickly at the end of this how I organize it for myself so that I don't have the wrong pages lining up with where they shouldn't be. So now I'm going to go ahead and save this, and then we'll get started on the reception. I'm going to save this as a JPEG. I'll just call it WedSare, and I guess I'll save it to the desktop. All right, now we can get started on our next page. So for the reception page, I just Googled beach reception, So I'm going to switch to that now. And this is the page that I found there, which is set up for a wedding. Now, when I had found the original page, there were people standing all along here. Actually, the bride and groom was right there. So I'll zoom over to the other side of the page where you can see there are a few more people left, and I'll show you how I got rid of them. So let me just zoom in a little bit. And all you do is this, I don't think we've used this feature yet in any of my later videos. In my first video, when I did an in-depth on how to use Picture It, I used all these techniques. So I'm just going to show you how to use the clone paint feature or the clone feature. So what you're going to do is you're going to click on the picture so that it's selected. You're going to go to touch up. Yeah, it's touch up. Go down here in the bottom corner to clone painting, and it gives you these three. It gives you 7 brush sizes. I'm making all kinds of flubs, but bear with me. We're going to get through this. So it gives us 7 brush sizes, and it gives you where you can customize the setting, and when you need to start in a new position, you just click this flag and it will free up your, you see the crosshairs? The crosshairs are where you want the area of the picture that you want to copy. So I want to take out this man and this woman and this lady that's sitting down here, and that crosshair looks a good size. But if you had a large area you were trying to do, you can see how big you can get that crosshair, all the way down to if you're trying to get into very small spaces, you see how small that crosshair is now. But where we were was a good size. So what I'm going to do is you take the crosshair and you put it in the area that you want to copy. So this is a good spot to copy. It's the ocean. Nobody's head is in there. And so you click once on there and let go. And now you go over to the first place that you want to start your clone. And I want my clone to start right here. So I'm just going to click on that same line with my crosshair so that it will keep the same pattern or the same lines of the ocean. And once you click again, it locks those together. And now all you have to do is just hold your left mouse button down and drag to cover this up. And the better you line up your crosshair and your and the area that you want to clone first, the better your clone will be. Because like right here along this white edge, by me keeping my alignment pretty well, when I click on this wave, basically is what that is, that wave will continue across, so it won't show up that you've altered the picture. Now I want to get in this area, and as you can see, if I move to this area, the crosshair is on the man, but I need it to be on the ocean. So you're going to go here to start a new position, click it once, and once again you have your freed up crosshair. So now I'm going to take it from this side, and I want to start on the lady's head here. So I'm going to click and test it out. If I didn't go up high enough, then I can adjust it. But you just keep clicking and cloning until you get the exact effect that you want. So I'm just going to clone out the rest of his body by putting the cursor right on top, because that was some ocean up there. And just like that, you've gotten rid of your pesky guest. No, I'm just kidding. You've gotten rid of the people that were in the picture that you didn't want. So I'm just going to do a little cleanup around here just to make sure that it's not looking like I just cloned a person out. And you can see the difference. I'll show you how easy that can be done. Sometimes you get a good shot and you just want to take somebody, take something out, a trash can, different things like that. That's what you want to use the clone feature for, and it quickly does the job for you. Okay, So now I'm going to zoom back out so we can finish with our reception page. And I actually I like this portion with the candles here on the side. So I'm going to go ahead and put it back here. I'm going to pull this out just a little bit. All right. So now for this one, once again, I need to put a grid line down. I didn't do it at first, so I'm going to go to size and position, alignment guides, vertical, and seeing that I didn't move my page, it will go right in the middle, thankfully. All right. So now, actually, it looks like it did move a little, but I'm going to eyeball it and get it pretty much where I want it. And it really won't make that big of a difference on this page anyway, because when it's all put together, it's going to look like one whole page, so it won't make a big difference. So now for this one, I want to do something a little different because I like the way this looks over here. On the beach scene, it was just blank space, but here it has actually a pretty element to it. So I'm going to do like we did on the cover. I'm going to go to cut out in picture, add a colored shape. I'm going to change it to white, and then we're going to make this one transparent. Not I kept saying translucent in the first video. I meant to say transparent. So we're going to do the transparency with this one like we did on the other page, on the cover page. So I'm going to put this where I want it. Once again, I want to try to align this to about the width that my other one was for the ceremony page, just to keep it, as uniform as possible. And that looks good. And now I'm going to go to Special Effects, Make Transparent. Oops, I forgot to click the square. Always click what it is that you're trying to adjust or manipulate. I'm going to go once again to Special Effect, Make Transparent, and now I can slide this grid over until I see enough of the picture behind it that I want to see, and that's pretty good because my text will still show up really well, but the view of the picture will still be there. So now, and the easiest thing about this is, since you already have the other page made, all you have to do is drag up those same elements. But before I do that, I'm going to go ahead and save this. Well, I don't have to save it because I already made it. But I'm going to just go ahead. I'm going to switch to this one. And I'm going to drag up. Actually, I'm going to just drag up the one that I already did, the text from it. And I'll show you the little decorative element I did on that one. So I'm going to go ahead and switch back to that background. I'm going to group just the text, so you see how I'm going off to the side just in case there were some extra elements underneath that I didn't want to get. And I'm going to group, the screen froze, so I do the click on anything and open it, and then all my little balls appear around the picture again, which means that I can move it or manipulate it. I'm going to group all of this, and hopefully it won't crash as I pull it up. So I'm going to, now that I switched back to the picture that I really want to work with, I'm going to click on this one just so it shows in this little small frame picture in a picture type of deal. And I'm just going to drag up my text and font and pictures and all of that right up here. Whenever you see that happen where it leaves a shadow, all you have to do is run it back over it and it will erase it. Once again, a glitch. Alright, so I'm just going to drag this down. This is the text that I made already for the reception page, and then I'll zoom in and show you the little decorative element that I added. So I'm going to zoom in a bit, and so that you can see what I included in the reception. I have the name of the bride and groom, the date, and at this one I put the new location for the reception. Then I just found 2 roses on the internet, on Google. I pasted one, took the white background from around it, just like I showed you how to cut out all of the white, and then I just put them crisscross and drop them on the space that I had left to put a decorative element. So you're going to make this just like you did the wedding page. That's why I didn't go through step by step, because it's doing the exact same thing that we did for the wedding page. I'm just going to move this over a little bit because it doesn't seem to be quite centered right. So I'm going to move this over to center it, zoom out, and I'll resize it a little bit so that it's filling up more of the page. And I'll let you know what I included here. I have the name, the date, the place, the reception, and I need to move those apart because the reception is too close to each other. So I'm just going to click on that, right click, edit text, hit a space, put a space there, and then on this page I have it set up because usually on the reception there are people that do particular people that will be doing particular things. The MC or the DJ. The MC and DJ usually is one and the same. You'll put the best man's toast and the best man's name, the maid of honor's toast and the maid of honor's name, and then you might have place for just random guests to come up and do toast. So you, once again, you set this up however, if it's your wedding, however you want it, or your customer request. And then I have after the toast, the wedding dance. Well, first of all, I have introduction of the wedding party, introduction of the bride and groom's first dance, father-daughter dance, mother-son dance, dinner served, best man toast, maid of honor toast, wedding parties dance, all dance, money dance, if there's going to be one, bride and groom's toast, cutting of the wedding cake. I have another error there, so I'm going to fix that. The H should be small. Next to cutting of the wedding cake. Always proofread and have your customer proofread so you don't end up reprinting something because it was your mistake. Alright, so we have the money dance, bride and groom's toast, cutting of the wedding cake, bouquet and garter toss, and then the grand exit. So now we have completed the pages of the tutorial for the wedding magazine style program. And you could also include a page of how the couple met. You could also include a page of how they became engaged. But for this magazine, I'm just keeping it brief so that you'll just see what elements it takes to make this magazine. And now I'm going to print this out and put it together, and I'll be back to show you.
Now that the project is all finished, I make a mock-up, just a blank paper mock-up, and write where each page should be positioned. Then I set the pages up in the correct order, pairing up the front side of the page with the second side of the page. Here I make sure that I have all of my pages where they should be. You might have to crop the pages in half to maneuver them so that they will line up in your magazine correctly. And here are pictures of the finished printed pages. The coloring is a little off because I ran out of ink mid-project and I'm waiting on my next shipment. But I didn't want to postpone putting this tutorial on my channel.